I told you this was a very ambitious list. I'm kind of scared thinking about it. I'm gonna do it. I'm confident, I'm confident. Hey friends, welcome back to Francesca's Books. My name is Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And today we're going to be chatting about the books that I'm going to read in November, and it's going to get wintry. Imagine if I introduced every time myself as Francesca's Books and then my name wasn't actually Francesca and it was like an alter ego. Can you imagine? Denied. Not factual. So in October, I didn't read as many books as I normally do, and it was spooky season as well, so there was so much opportunity to like really enjoy some spooky books, but life happens. There was a lot going on in my personal life. I am moving house, etc, etc. So we are back on track for November, and these are the books that I'm going to read. And I'm going to start to introduce some more like wintry, Christmassy thriller books because they're quite hard to come by. So if there's any like books that people are talking about that are like Christmassy or wintry and that aren't rom-coms, I am all over it. Like I have to be in there reviewing them. And of course a palette cleanser rom-com and a couple of like just classic psychological thrillers as well, because that is what I do best. So I've picked out 10 books for the month of November, and I just feel like that is a little bit too ambitious, but I'm not going to lose faith immediately. I'm going to see how we go, but if I don't get through all these this month, I'm definitely not going to be hard on myself. So without further ado, these are the 10 books that I'm going to read, and I'm actually starting with a spooky one because I really wanted to read this in October and I hadn't. So it is Cackle. I've actually already started this one because we're a couple of days into November, and it is really good so far. It has had so many good reviews, this book. Like so many people, even thriller readers, like love this. So I was like, I need to read it. If I don't read it as my first book of November, I'm probably not going to read it till next year. And I was like, that can't happen. So this follows our female main character Annie, who moves out of Manhattan into the suburbs to like start afresh after her boyfriend left her. So she moves to this like charming small town and meets this woman called Sophie, who is just very enigmatic, and she just can't get enough. And Sophie really wants to be her friend, and she's like, do you know what, yeah, like I could use some new friends. Maybe good. It borders on horror, but not in any way gory, or almost like it doesn't even border on paranormal horror. It's kind of like the good type of horror, like the cozy, the witchy like type vibes instead. I'd say it's like a horror thriller, but like heavy on the thriller, contemporary, more of a story side of it. That's what it's like already. So obviously I'm only a little bit of the way through the book, so it might get super horror-y. I don't know, but I've been told it's not, so I have a good feeling about this. I've also read The Return by Rachel Harrison and really enjoyed the writing style, so I have very big hopes for this. And I mean, how gorgeous is this cover? Like, I kind of want this tattooed on me. And then next up, I'm going to read Freedom McFadden's latest book, which is The Crash. This actually isn't out until January. I've very kindly been sent an advance copy from Source Books, the publisher. They are so good to me. I do normally get them about a month in advance so I can like review them for you guys and let you know whether they are worth your time. And this one is super wintry, so I'm very excited to read it. It's giving like similar vibes to Never Lie purely from the synopsis. So it follows Tegan, who's stranded because of a snowstorm in like rural Maine, but this time like she's 8 months pregnant. Instead of it being like a couple that's stranded, it's a single mum who's 8 months pregnant in the middle of nowhere. So she's rescued by this seemingly friendly couple, but as always in a thriller book, there is way more to them than it seems. I think they take her to their like cabin or house or whatever for her to like rest and try and get help, etc, etc. But I mean, these things never play out well, do they, in thriller books, let's be honest. I've not really been super impressed by some of Freedom McFadden's latest books, so I'm really hoping that this one kind of pulls it back. The last book of hers that I read, The Boyfriend, which came out in October, wasn't her worst book, but definitely wasn't her best book. And I feel like the rate that these are coming out, like, it's every 3 months at this point. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that, but I feel like after The Co-Worker, I don't know, maybe that's out of pocket. Then the next book that I'm going to read is The Good Samaritan by John Mars. This one is on Kindle Unlimited, hence why I don't have the physical copy. I am going to read John Mars's backlist, okay? Every time I do an author spotlight, everyone's like, please do John Mars, please do John Mars. And I've not actually finished his backlist, so we're going to start here. I do really like John Mars's books. I've just never like gone through all of them. Like there is only 2 or 3 maybe of his that I haven't read, but I guess they're the ones that I felt less drawn to, so just like naturally haven't read. But now I'm going to read them all. And I mean, John Mars is an incredible author, so it feels very deserving that I've read all of his books. So The Good Samaritan follows a woman who works at an unaliving hotline, and basically people ring in with their like concerns about what they're about to do. I'm having to phrase this in a very cautious way. And instead of our female main character talking them out of it, she's basically like, well, yeah, maybe you should. So I'm not really sure how this is going to be a full book, if that makes sense, because that concept sounds good, but I mean, unless somebody's going to like find out what she's doing and try and like bring her down for it. I don't know how that's really going to play out. The concept sounds very unique, very dark, and classic John Marr style. I personally will enjoy this, but I feel like it could be too dark for some people based on the premise. So I will feedback next month whether to go in with caution or whether it's not as shocking as it sounds. Then next, I'm also going to finish Lisa Jewell's backlist, because another author that I absolutely love, and you know, I keep veering away from these authors that I know I love because there's like there's a book that's trending or a book that everyone's talking about, and they're never as good as like the classic thriller authors that are just absolutely brilliant. Like, I need to go back to them more. So I'm starting my Lisa Jewell complete read with The House That We Grew Up In, because she herself said this was her favourite book to write. My friend Izzy is a big Lisa Jewell fan, and she also said that she'd heard this, so I thought that is a really good place to start. And this follows the Bird family that have a very idealistic life in the Cotswolds, and then one Easter weekend, everything changes. Before you read it, you're not told what that tragic event is, and I love that, because if you kind of know that going in, the first 50 pages or so are just what you already have read in the synopsis, and I just love going into a book blind, not knowing what's going to happen, and then just really enjoying it. So after said tragic event, they all go their own ways, and then years later, then the book starts with them all coming back to like deal with this event. Sounds really vague actually thinking about it, but it's Lisa Jewell, so I trust her. I think it's a bit of a rebonding of this family as well, and it's kind of giving similar vibes to The Family Upstairs, but maybe less twisted. We'll see. Then sticking with the winter theme, I've heard quite a lot about this next book, and I'm really keen to give my own take on it, and it is Geneva by Richard Armitage. So this is quite a short book as well, so I feel like if the rumours are true and it's just an okay book, it's not that much time to like spend on it, but I think the concept sounds really good. I think I'm gonna like it. So it follows a scientist who goes to this care facility in Geneva because she's struggling with like early onset Alzheimer's, or is it like start of the Alzheimer's journey, and apparently there's some kind of treatment that's experimental, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a go. I think she goes reluctantly. I think it's like her husband's choice to get her through this like experimental treatment. Either way, she ends up there. However, when she is there, she's like, was this really in my best interest, or is it the Alzheimer's that's sending me like giving me all these thoughts? So hopefully this is going to be a really good book. I feel like that's a really good concept. It's kind of giving Shutter Island in a way, but maybe it's not as intense. I don't know how it could be in this many pages, but I'm really, really keen to try it. Claire McIntosh said it's sensational, so we trust the queen. And then as my lovely little winter Christmas palette cleanser this month, I'm going to read The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. I have read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe and The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore in October, and this has just been released and is part of the same series. Now, I didn't love the first two books, yet I find myself with a copy of the third book ready to go and ready to enjoy. I don't know what it is. Maybe I did enjoy the first two books more than I thought. The third book in the series follows one of the main characters in the first couple books' brother, who comes into town to set up the Christmas Tree Farm. So this is a bit of a different spin on it because the characters were very closely, not related, but they were like good friends from the first two books, and then this one I think is a little bit more distanced. I don't think that's a bad thing. So the female main character Kira buys this Christmas tree farm. She sets it up despite hating Christmas, and then the brother of the character I mentioned, Bennett, comes along and it's just like, Christmas is amazing, like let me show you. And I really like this. I feel like it's gonna hit home a little bit this year because this is the first actual Christmas without my dad, so I feel like that sense of like not really wanting Christmas to be an exciting celebration is going to be, maybe it can change my mind. I'll let you know what I think of this ASAP because you guys were really keen to know what I thought of the other two, so I'll try and read this one earlier on. And then staying on the Christmas theme, I'm going to read Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger, and I saw this actually in a bookshop in America and I was like, that sounds so good. It is a Christmas book, it's a thriller book, and it wasn't that long. I think it's about 250 pages. However, it was like $30 or something stupid, like crazy money, and I was like, I'm not going to do that, so I bought it on Kindle instead. Also, it was my suitcase space. I couldn't bring it back. So I've bought it on Kindle. I'm definitely going to give it a read, and it sounds really good. It follows a podcaster, Harley, who comes to town to Madeline's like bookshop, and basically everything is just dragged up from the past with a Christmas theme. So she is the sole survivor of a serial unaliver, rhymes, and he starts like really digging into it, and she's just like, leave me alone, but then they're trapped in a blizzard, or she's trapped in a blizzard. I don't know. Sounds Christmassy, it sounds wintry, it sounds thrillery, so I'm in. Then I'm going to read another book on Kindle, which I've had my eye on for so long. It's been downloaded for so long, and I know I love this author, so don't know why I'm only just getting to it, but this is my commitment to reading it this month. And it is Message Deleted by Kale Slater. This follows a woman who gets a text from her friend that's like, please come help me right now, I'm in serious trouble, I'm in serious danger. So obviously she gets in the car and goes to try and help her friend. Then when she checks her phone, the messages have been deleted. She gets to the friend's house and the friend is fine, but then a couple of hours later, she gets a call from the police, so she goes round and the police are there, and the friend is not okay, and she's missing, and the child's missing, and everything goes into chaos. And she's like, what about those deleted texts? But she has no proof of it. Like, she could have just imagined it. I feel like this is a really interesting concept, something quite original, and I know I enjoy Kale Slater's writing. It is very easy to read and popcorn thriller-esque, but then with like deeper topics. So I'm excited to give this one a go. And then I feel like in the next book that I want to read this month is a little bit of a curveball, but I just feel like an affinities that I need to read it. And it is I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, if that's how you say it. I'm really hoping that's how you say it. So this book is about a woman who like explores her like anxieties and stuff over 12 therapy sessions. And I thought this was a fiction book, if I'm being honest, when I put it on this list. Turns out it's not a fiction book. However, my goal this year was to read a few more non-fiction, so I feel like this is a good opportunity to do that. It's like part memoir, part self-help, and honestly I feel like at this point it's free therapy, so I'm gonna take it. And then the final book that I'm gonna read in November, I told you this was a very ambitious list. I'm kind of scared thinking about it. I'm gonna do it. I'm confident, I'm confident. And the final book is Murder Road by Simone St. James, and I was actually sent this very kindly by the publisher as it is now out in paperback, as you can see. It's been out in hardback for a while, but I'm not a big fan of reading hardbacks, and also it's quite hard still to get a copy of in the UK, even in hardback, so this is perfect. So this follows a couple who are honeymooning. They're very happy, they're going on a big road trip adventure, and they decide to pick up this hitchhiker on the side of the road. And then, of course, weird things start happening. And then suddenly, after these weird goings on and picking up this hitchhiker, they're suddenly like the main suspects in all these like paranormal unalivings and goings on near this lake. Simone St. James does the perfect horror thriller combo because her books are predominantly thriller in my opinion. I think they're technically classed as horror. In my opinion, they're very, very thriller-esque. But then they have the elements of horror, which, as a thriller girl, I love. This feels like it's giving The Girls Who Disappeared by Claire Douglas, but with the horror paranormal elements that I was so desperately after. So I'm so excited to read this. This is going to be a very quick read, I just know it. So those are the 10 books I'm going to attempt to read in November. Wish me luck. Cannot wait to share the reviews with you and see how we get on when I do my November reading wrapped. Let me know what you are going to read in November as well, because I love all the recommendations. I take a lot of my recommendations from you guys as well. We all support each other here. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you next time.